Yes, Linda.
Again, I'm wondering whether when we get the amounts for the contract, whether we then put them in here so that we know that what it is per hour for his hours on assessing, for pickup and cyclical update. We used to have those listed right in the budget. It just comes right off the contract and sits there, and we know exactly what we're looking at.
You're talking about for to be listed in under the 100 series on the salaries and stuff, so we know the breakout of.
His are all listed in the 300.
Oh, okay, 300.
Is Linda writing?
Oh, yes.
300 is his contract.
Yep. Yeah, so more information on all of those. Okay, gotcha. All right.
I think Todd wants to say something.
Oh, Todd, yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do believe that this was calculated based on an estimated 2% increase because of the COLA, and it turned out to be a 1.6. So we can certainly recalculate that. I do have the adjustments hourly and pickups, but it'd probably be less than what's here because it was based on a 2% increase, and it's only going to be 1.6. But we can definitely fine tune that. I can answer your question quickly. With that 1.6% increase, the hourly cost would be $52.58, and then the pickups would be $25.49 a parcel, and the same with the cyclicals. The cyclicals would be roughly $37,700. You have 5,835 parcels, which results in 25% a year is about $1,475 a year. Just bear with me just a quick second here. It'd be $35,724 would be the annual amount, but we can definitely fine tune that and put that on paper more specifically. But just to answer that question real quick. So I think it's going to be less actually than what's on this paper because the increase wasn't as much. But anyways, that's all I have for now.
Okay, yep. Yeah, that'd be good if we get that information so we could get it broken out on each of these line items here. So,
Sorry,
yeah, Linda.
Is there any in here for BL board-related tax appeal cases? Is that under other purchase services?
Well, your reassessment contract includes the abatement. So there would be I believe there's a couple of BTLA cases in here, but you only have 2 or 3 pending, and I think they may even be settled before they go to the BTLA. So I don't really think that's a big issue this coming year. The following year you may have more BTLA cases just because of the nature of the revaluation, and it always seems to happen that way. So you'll save on abatements next year as well.
So what's covered in other purchase services?
The other purchases, your mapping, and I believe you had a question about the $15 a building. So that's for the mappers to put the buildings, just illustrate the buildings on the maps. So it's $15 per building. Linda went today and asked the building department about how many new buildings, and they thought about 30. So that would be about 30 times. It'd be about what, $450? Is that right? Yeah, not a huge amount there, but that's what that's for.
Any other questions on the 300 series?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
sorry I'm late. My apologies. You guys probably already covered this, but all the lines, number 10 are all negatives. Are we basically getting a $121,000 give back this year on the assessing budget?
No, this is a calculation error because I rolled in trying to get ahead a little bit. Did the calculations off the Board of Selectmen to the 2020 approved budget. So I will make sure that tomorrow you get an updated one that reflects the correct percentage.
And if that was already covered, then I apologize for asking a second time. Thanks for doing it though.
It was, and we accept your apology, Paul.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm in your debt.
But I want to welcome you to the meeting, Paul, anyway, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm home alone with Dave Senecal's cat.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay, so to get you caught up, Paul, we're on the assessing budget right now. We're just finishing up the 300 series, going on to the 400 series.
Thank you very much.
So anything in the 400 series?
Public school system in Washington, D.C. is canceling the return of some students to classrooms.
500 series?
Cities and states across the adding restrictions or pausing the reopening.
600 series?
Where Governor Charlie Baker has issued a new stay-at-home advisory and mask rule, also limiting indoor gatherings. Yes.
800 series? Okay. That wraps up the assessing budget. Anything else we needed to do with that, Mr. Pinio, or are we good to move on?
I believe we are all set to move on, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda, I have Public Works revisit.
So, Mr. Chairman, after the discussion the other night regarding the reorganization of Public Works, Dave Ford got to me late this afternoon, an anticipated expense and shifting of costs related to this proposal going forward. With that said, I'll hand it over to Dave to explain what we're looking at going forward. Dave?
Okay, just to restate, pick up where we left off. We've been talking about the need to add some additional supervisory help, and we decided to have me focus my efforts more on the water and sewer department, where we have some major projects going on, and we have a lot of old infrastructure that we're trying to implement the asset management plan on. So and at the same time, keep me a little bit involved in capital projects, with the idea of bringing on a new public works director who would be responsible for the 5 general divisions within public works. So what we did is to phase this in, we assumed the person would start July 1st, so they'd be here for 6 months. The position, and then at the end of 6 months, I and Scott Pike would, instead of being right now the way the budget is, I'm 60% on administration, and Scott Pike is 35% on administration or general government. Those percentages would change. Scott Pike would go 0. He'd be 100% on water and sewer, and I would go from 60 to 20%. And that impact would only have a change of only a few $1,000 at the end of 2021. It'll be about a $3,000 increase, plus or minus. So it's almost a wash on that side. By taking my percentage out, and this is assuming we're hiring a public works director, would be a non-professional engineer with someone more experienced in the public work vehicles, potentially building and grounds as we're expanding that part. But roads and the garage would be the main thing. So we're looking at a salary of around $90,000, and that's what the expenses is put there. The bigger impact is going to be felt on the water side, where my other percentages would go to, and Scott Pike's percentages would go to. Those impacts would be much more significant. And at the same time, we're also doing some other changes within that department. So on the water side, we'd be looking at increases of about 63,000 to the distribution budget, 100 and 200 series, and about 55,000 to the water treatment plant, 100, 200 series. So it'd be a significant increase. This year, with regards to the debt service dropping off, it would be a good year because we still could absorb it within the budget. But the response would be then we would not be able to fund the cap reserve fund the way we were hoping to. Again, when we would revisit that asset management plan and the cap reserve fund. But again, we think this is pretty important that we get the manpower. And that is the quick summary on the budget impacts of adding the new position.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions from the board? Paul?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to catch up here. Is this written down someplace on a piece of paper?
I was hoping to get you a letter with the numbers and attachments, but like Jim said, today was a little crazy, so I got the numbers to him late in the day without a narrative. So presenting them with regards to the net difference in the budget, so I don't have anything for you, Paul.
So we're going to have Jim. We're going to get probably a new set of Muni Smart sheets broken into two directions: water, sewer, and highway. Is that what's going on?
Well, it's Public Works is a separate department. Water and sewer utilities are separate enterprise funds. So when you look at the budgets, you have three separate budgets. So general government would be impacted only on the administrative line. We have one division is called administration. That's where the changes would impact. The net impacts on that line item would be for the year 2021 would only be an increase of $3,000. The bigger impact is on the water side, where Scott and I would then be shifted over to. So that's what the summary was indicating.
Thank you, Dave.
I have a question.
Linda? Yeah, Linda,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Is any of your time going over to sewer? It seems like it would be divided out between water, sewer, and public works.
Right now, I have a certain percentage charged to sewer, so that would remain the same. So yes, I would still be doing 20% to sewer, 20% general government, and 60% to water.
So where is your 20% for general government going to be placed? Is that going to stay under public works, or is it going into a different category? Because it really isn't public. You're not going to be public works anymore.
That's a good question, Linda. At this time, we don't have a line item for charging 100 and 200 series costs against capital projects. So the intent for 2021 was to put it as an administration line item. So it's somewhere we can keep it until we can maybe add, or in 2022 budget, see if we want to put that cost right to the warrant articles that are coming up for the following year. So at this part, we haven't got that far, but we're proposing to cover it under the administration part of division under Public Works.
I'm with Paul. It'd be nice to. Are you going to get that to us tomorrow? That memo?
Tomorrow's going to be another crazy day. I would think hopefully by the end of the day, Wednesday, we'll have it. So maybe with the next time we could get, I think we're going to be on the agenda the 18th. So That way you have a little bit more time. If you have any other questions too, so what we'll do is we'll, again, have those breakouts showing you the impact of changing those percentages from myself. So instead of being 60% charged to general government or public works department, I'll be down to 20%. Instead of Scott Pike being 35%, he will be 0. And that change will start on July 1st. So those are the important parts of that. The new director would come on with a salary at $90,000. It would be 50% of the year, and that would have a net impact of only increasing the budget by $3,000 on the general government or within the administration division guidelines. So that's the summary we are, and we'll have that all spelled out by line item so you can see that better. And then the big impact is on the water distribution side, because on the sewer side, I'm not changing the percentages there. As you know, our sewer department has very small users, so our rates are very high. Our water department's a little more healthy, and we have twice as many water customers, twice as much infrastructure on water side as sewer side, even though we have these big sewer projects coming up. So we kept those percentages the same. Like I said, 20% on the sewer, 20% general government, and then 60% on the water side.
Oh, and Linda, to answer your question, we will get you a change management plan narrative to go with this spreadsheet that Dave got me today. We're just tight on time and we haven't been able to get that far, but we wanted to give you this much tonight.
Okay, so I understand that, but when are we passing these books over to the budget committee? And what are we going to pass over to the budget committee? The 18th of November is not going, the books have already gone. So I think the board has a decision. Either it's going to have these sheets changed and it goes over in the changed. We can't.
Yeah, so what I can do is we can build this out both ways for you to be able to make a decision. I can get these to you tomorrow morning, build that decision in the anticipation of being able to maybe make that decision on either Wednesday night, or we could hold back on the public works budgets going to the budget committee until later on. But I know you guys want to wrap this up as far as the Board of Selectmen end, and I concur with that statement.
And just, Mr. Chairman, can I ask one last question?
Yes. Sure, Paul.
And not for a long-winded answer. Dave, that 20% you said you couldn't do it, is the reason we can't do it because we need to open another account in MuniSmart, or is it a policy issue that we have to take to the voters?
Well, again, when we budget for capital projects and warrant articles, in the past, we've never used that money to pay for salaries and benefits. Oh, it's a new question, and I don't even know how to answer it, you know.
All right, then don't. Yeah, then don't. Just, if it was, hey, we need to open a new account in MuniSmart to account for it.
Yeah,
That's one issue. If it's, hey, we've never done this before, it's a policy question. We need to just ruminate on it. Don't try to speculate tonight, though. Thank you.
Dave Senical?
yeah. I'm with Linda. I want to see it down on paper. And I think that the numbers that you're quoting too are only for 6 months. Is that correct?
I also have the analysis for the full
July
year.
1st?
Yes, but I also have the impact for the full year for 2022. So that's all in the spreadsheet, and will be in the memo with it.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. Thank you.
Yep. Yes, so Jim, do you think we'd be able to get some of this narratives to us, tomorrow, so we could look at it and talk about it on Wednesday evening at our meeting?
Yeah, I certainly can work on this tomorrow. I've got some other tie-up things within the budget that I've got to do. but I can certainly work on the narrative based on the spreadsheet which Dave has provided me.
And to
Any other
answer
questions for Dave?
Dave Seneco's question, in 2022, the impact on the general government would be a $9,200 increase compared to if we didn't do any change with no, so just looking at just that salary or those positions changing. So in 2022, if I was still charged 20% to the admin budget, Scott Pike, 0, new public works director, 100%. The net impact on the tax rate would only be about 9,000. And that does include the 200 series, except for health insurance.
We should have health insurance calculated in there somewhere.
It's a new way of doing, so it's there, again, that could be anywhere from 10,000 to 30,000, depending if it's a single versus a family. So until you know what you have, but I think we're budgeting health insurance in a separate line item now.
We usually do when we don't know, we do a 2-person, which kind of hedges your bet and in the middle.
And we should add that additional cost. I forgot that I didn't put that in because of the way we're budgeting, but that's good. That's another additional cost to the budget. So that would increase whatever the insurance will be on that one. So that's a good point, Linda.
Any other questions for Dave on this one? Okay, did we have some, because in our packet, we have some capital outlays for water and sewer and stuff. Are we doing those this evening or?
Yeah, I think that was the other thing. We had 3 capital outlays for the water.
Yep. All right. First one I have in front of me here is for the, let's see, the seasonal water line upgrades. For $60,000.
So this has been a long-standing problem with our water system. We rated very well with regards to our treatment plant and most of our system. We have a lot of old pipes, but the weakest part of our system, most vulnerable, is our seasonal water lines. We have miles of pipe that travels above the ground and is unprotected. They're only used between April and October. We just shut them off. And unfortunately, we had to shut water lines off to people who needed the water because their wells are going dry, but we have to cut them off because of freezing. We have been putting off making the decision on that. This year, we're starting to study it. We have a report. Now we're trying to prioritize and go after the areas where we can get the biggest bang for our buck. Removing seasonal water lines, limiting that liability, and getting those people on year-round water or protected seasonal water lines. So this would be a continuation of that project. We keep it in the capital outlay at $60,000, kind of staying within our rate structure of total capital outlay. And I think that's it in the summary.
Dave, do you have any idea what area you're going to do the construction in? Have you?
Well, we have 3 specific areas, and a 4th one we had considered, and now that we're going to look at a different way of handling that one. So one of the high priorities is off of Lang Pond Road, McCarthy-Ann and Museum Shores, where we have a cluster of people on seasonal water lines who many of them would like to go year-round, and then we have a few people who are on private lines. It's a little complicated because there's not a town road there. So we're trying to come up with a way to be able to get everyone on year-round water reasonably and help out. So that's one area. The second area is getting water to the Albee Beach area, and the boat museum would like to have a year-round supply. And we have a line there that runs a couple thousand feet through a swamp and very unprotected. So that's going to be a high priority, and we'd like to get that one going next year. Other ones that we've looked at, obviously the camp school, which is really important because it's such a big population. But that line we have a better visual on, and we think we can work with the camp and maybe develop a security plan that can maybe buy us time and put that one off, just make sure we're protecting best we can. So we have a couple of different areas. In Smith River Road is another one we've looked at. It looks like an easy one for us. We might be able to get 4 or 5 people on for a couple hundred feet. So we're looking at the different ones, trying to come up with a priority, giving us the biggest bang for the buck and keeping the program moving. I suspect that we'll have a bigger project in 2022 when we have a better engineering and better construction numbers.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dave on this one? Okay, we'll move on to the next one I got, Dave, is the residential water meter replacement program.
Yep, this we started this program a few years ago. We had done a study on our meters, and we had a recommendation to do 2 things. One is to update all the old meters, and then have a program where each year we continue to remove the outdated meters and try to keep all our meters within 10 to 12 years. And so this is an extension of that program, trying to make sure the meters are accurate. That's how we get all our income comes through those revenue of the meters, and meters never, although people think so, they go faster. They always slow down as they wear out. They usually start to become slower on the customer side. So it's a good program. We do the installations, and we're averaging say 50 a year now, or 100 a year, and that's just an ongoing program we've done for the last few years.
Okay, any questions or comments for Dave? Seeing none, we'll take a look at the Middleton Road Water Booster Station upgrade.
So this was another one that's, again, brought up in an asset management plan. And this is kind of a unique one. At some point, the town extended a 10-inch water line out Middleton Road, and then put a booster station in with the intent, it looked like, of boosting the water and providing water to subdivisions going up the road. For some reasons, it never happened. The station was over-designed, and the water did not see the growth that they anticipated. This station now is 30 years old, and we have to do something with it. And so we are looking at, and we had an engineer's estimate, which is much more than this. Scott Pike and myself are looking at kind of doing a design build and working on this in a 2-phase approach. This first phase will be doing some minimum engineering, but doing some in-house work. And we think we've got a good idea on how we can make it work for what we have now and provide a fire flow. That's the other thing too. When we did the water with the road upgrade, we actually put in areas where we could put our hydrants in, but we still don't have the flow out there for the hydrants. So this is going to help us get that fire flow, as well as be an improvement to the system. So it's something we have put off. It's identified in the asset management plan, and we intend on doing this. This is, again, one of the reasons as we reorganize, Scott and Dave can spend more time in this project. Hopefully we'll save money without having to do a lot of engineering and get this project done for much less than they've identified in our reports.
Linda?
Yeah, Dave, as I recall, this was an area that we have a lot of times, I think, maybe red water, but we have water pressure problems, and haven't we had problems at this end with some of the chlorine content or bugs? So will this change help us with those issues?
So that with the disinfection byproducts, DVPs, are an issue with water age. The older the water is in your system, the longer they can react with organics and then create these byproducts. And we have been compliant for many years now, but the regulations each year are getting tougher and tougher. And there is, in the summer months, this is one of the areas, which is why we have to run the water up there. With this particular problem, we will not be able to increase the pressure so much in the low pressure zones, although we are looking at other interesting ideas about that. The red water mostly has gone away because we've done the upgrades on that side of town, the south main water main, and so we've been really haven't had the red water complaints. Pressure is still an issue. This will help with regards to turning over the system and keeping the water age down, and mostly it'll make the system more robust. Right now, it's a weak system. We could go out and we could lose customers out there because of this old system, and it's in need of either repair or upgrades, and we like this upgrade.
Dave Senical?
Yeah, David, how many customers do we have on that particular line? You know?
I would be guessing right now, but it's less than 20. And, you know the area, there was a subdivision up there, instead of them tying in, they created their own water system. And, as a result, I don't even know who paid for this. I never found that out. Do you remember who paid for the water upgrade and the 10-inch line?
Yeah, the town did.
Yeah.
That was put in, Paul Hatch had that system put in years ago because Ken Douglas was the one who was complaining, and there was a warrant article in reference to that particular booster station up to his house. And that's as far as it went. And I don't know who hooked on, other than that.
Yeah.
So I don't really know, but it was done many, many years ago.
Yeah, it's interesting. I could never find in the records why or how it's done. So it's maintaining, and like I said, I can find out the number, so it's not a huge amount. There is some land that can be built upon, and more importantly, we're trying to get the fire flows because we have the hydrants out there, but now it's only a booster pump. It can't get enough to get the fire flow.
I think originally there was only like 2 or 3 people on that whole line. And Ken Douglas was the last one. That's the log cabin up there on the right. I think that's the last one on the line.
Okay.
That's what I remember about it anyway.
Yeah, all I know about it is I know Seawood Construction did the job down there, then they went bankrupt before they finished it, so I came and got me. I went down and I put all the services. He did the main line. I put the services into the houses down through there, so it was kind of a screwy project back then.
You know what year that was?
I want to say late 80s.
Okay,
Be my best guess.
Anyways, it's an asset we own now, so we have to take care of it. So again, we're hoping we can get it all done for this price, but it is, again, going to be design built.
Do I understand it too, Dave? The 10-inch line probably has enough flow availability in it. We just need the pumps to be able to get the flow we need out to the hydrants. Is that correct?
Yep, that's what it is. Because to be able to get the fire flows, yep, that's the problem right now.
All right. Anything else for Dave? I think that's all we had for Public Works tonight, wasn't it? Okay.
So, great. Thanks,
Thank you, Dave.
guys.
Okay, next on our agenda is fire revisit, but don't we also have to go do the fire budget too? We haven't done that one yet, have we? Is that correct?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I
Yeah.
think we're better off just starting right from scratch on this one and going from there.
Okay. So do the regular budget, then we'll go into the capital outlays afterwards. I believe we got the narratives, justification on the budgets here. Okay. So we'll start in, Chief, unless you want to make any opening statement for us or anything, or you want us to just jump in with the line items and answer questions as you come up?
I'll just quickly say this, that after we met previously, and I appreciated all the comments and the discussion that we had on the budget, I also had an opportunity to sit down and talk with Linda Murray a little bit about some of her concerns on the budget. And I think one of the things that I needed to do, and she made the suggestion, so I did it. You should have a document from October 28th, which has yellow boxes with the justification. It's to differentiate it from everything else. And what I did is I took hers and your comments, and I went through and basically reconfigured or rewrote a lot of the justifications so that they had better explanations in some of the problem areas. So there's about 10 key things that I saw that kept coming up that needed explanation. So I could do whatever you want to. I can answer questions, go through line by line, or just hit those 10 items that came up, whatever you want to do, but I'm ready to go.
Yeah, we'll go through line by line and we'll probably hit those 10 things as we get to them, I think, and
Okay.
and address it that way.
Okay. So do you want me to just
So-
go, or?
We'll go through it and stuff, and we'll call them out, and if we got a question, then we'll have you see if you direct us to the answer on our justification sheets we got, and go from there. So we'll start out with the 100 series.
Fred?
Yes, Linda.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time today trying to figure out this budget, and one of the things that I think jumps out that we should fix is the $50,000 for other compensation, which has zero for prior year. That's not true. What's in there was in other lines, and Jim sent them to me. And so if we took those out of the 100 series, like 113 has some of that in, and 114, and then overtime, which is 140, and took those, the prior year's amount, and put it down where you see other compensations, there's a very little increase in other compensations from last year to this year. But if you look at it here, it jumps right out at you. And so I think it will cause less confusion with the budget committee if we do that. And then those lines will drop down, and some of them will have pluses, but I found I was better able to see exactly where in this budget things went up. Where it didn't go up much is in the holiday pay and loss, where the way it's written now, it seems like there was this big jump. So I don't know how others feel about that, or how Jim or the chief feels about that.
Linda, did that spreadsheet that I sent you with last year's information, would that be helpful if we had a comparison of that from last year to this year to show that? Did that help you?
That helped me identify where I was having the problems, no doubt about it. It just was, I guess, when I finished with what you had given me, which allowed me to compare last year to this year, we have it in the other compensation now shows that there's a $50,000 increase. Well, there isn't a $50,000 increase in that compared to last year. It's just 1,000. And so I was wondering if we could then go back through and and I came from your figures to put amount in 2020. So we're comparing apples to apples. We were comparing oranges to apples, and that's where it took me a while to figure it out. And it was the figures you gave me that allowed me to figure that out.
So what I can do is I can go back into the previous budgets and pull that out for what it would look like for 2020, what it would have looked like for 2019, and put it in as a narrative under that other compensation line to help justify it.
I think it will be less of a thing that just jumps out at them, which they'll, what I felt to me, $50,000 more in the line. What's that? And so I think that will make it a little bit easier. I thought the narratives, the yellow block narratives are good, excellent. But then I think that if we do that and take it out of the lines up above, I think we'll have a more accurate budget.
Sounds good.
All right. Is there anything else on the 100 series? $200 series? 300 series?
On 351, did you put under medical services the physicals back in for 2020 on the spreadsheet? Because you took out all the,
We took out the ambulance contract and that's now its own account. So the 18,400 is the variety of physicals that are offered for new hires, return to duty, and annuals for the firefighters.
but if you did that for 2020, it shouldn't be zero. There should be an amount there.
Okay,
Because what it then does is it figures you over that you're $18,000 spending more this year, which is not the case.
right. So it's the
if-
same thing as the 100 series.
Mm-hmm. So it doesn't show this big increase because you didn't.
Right. That's
And
basically
I
what.
did have a preliminary conversation with our finance director on this topic. This is something that we'll be investigating going forward to see if we can make those, populate those digits from the previous year. So it shows it.
Well, I think you got to do that, Jim, because you're showing that the 300 line is going up 19,330.
Yeah.
5.87%. It's going up. And that
What's
means
going on is,
on a year-over-year
Yeah.
basis, it's going up.
well, no, it looks that way, but it actually is not. And this is a result of the request, which was granted based on recommendations from DRA and our auditors to place the ambulance in a standalone ambulance budget. So, you know, we could certainly go the other way and show a $250,000 reduction in
Now that's
ambulance service, but
I think Norm
that's
would
not
love
gonna
that.
be
That'd be great.
so.
I have
Let
to
us-
take some responsibility that we consolidated and changed some lines around. So, you know, to accommodate me, Jim was gracious enough to do that. And so, you know, whatever we have to do to make it
Well, for the
understandable.
Jim and Norm, for the unwashed, I look at that line and I say it's going up. And I look at the total and it's going up. And you guys are right. There was an ambulance thing that got moved out. But for the person who's sitting in the budget committee who hasn't had the time to really dig through the book and spend the time to meet with you people, that line will be cut.
However, with that
However.
stated, the summary sheet, which the budget committee has been absolutely adamant about getting back, has that identified in that summary sheet. We will try to repopulate the previous years to the 18.4. Not making any promises, but we're going to try it.
Well, that's good, and thank you for doing that. But you and the fire chief are going to have to stand up and kind of walk the budget committee through this so they don't get confused.
Any other questions or comments on the 300 series?
And why are these physicals not covered by insurance?
And you can't require somebody to spend their own benefit to do a mandatory physical.
Okey dokey.
Are we going to expect to get an argument from them on line 380, the hydrant services here? This usually seems to be a area of conflict every year with the budget committee. As in the past, anyway.
You should ask for a 20% increase and then settle for 10.
So hope that one
It's the
doesn't.
same as last year. Hopefully they won't pay any attention to it.
Yeah, let's hope. Okay.
They'll be so confused with that $18,400. Just slide right by them. Go to the next one.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just
We'll get 'em-
distract them
We'll
up
put them
there.
right out of the, we'll put them right out of the 400 series after that, won't we?
Yeah.
Okay. 400 series?
You know, I think the chief did a nice job of listing everything out, and I'd leave it there and let them decide if that's the place they want to make some cuts, but, you know,
You're talking about the 430 line, Linda?
yes.
Yeah.
Which we asked the questions about at the first time, and he said that it was, he's gonna have it do, annual checkups twice instead of once, and he lays it out here pretty clearly, and they can decide if they feel that needs to come down, they can chop it out. I'm not going to do it.
Yep, I agree.
I agree.
Yeah,
Anything
they're the
else?
bad guys.
Anything else on 400 series?
At least the good news is you've taken the time to denominate what you need there. That's important.
Thank you.
I thought
500?
435 we cut, am I correct?
Well, I think you took a vote on eliminating some of it. I don't know to what degree.
Is this reflecting of what we eliminated?
No, we took 3,000 out.
Right.
Okay.
I got 3,000 out, Central
Yeah.
Station.
Yep,
Yeah, so that just shows in my line what I requested.
Agreed.
So is this the right number I'm looking at in my book? Up 4740?
no, we cut 3,000 out, so it'd be 1,740.
Right.
Okay.
So the budget number should be $3,900 then?
No, $1,700.
Right.
Up 1,700.
1,700.
I'm talking about the budget, the 2021 request should be $3,900.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
If Amy's watching, Amy, I need a new piece of paper.
You guys must have done this one that night that I wasn't here, because I don't recall this one.
I might have been with you that night, Brett.
Okay, anything else on the 400 series?
Yeah, Paul was late.
$500 series?
What was that?
$600 series? $700 series?
Back to the 600 series. Are we, I know we've asked this, that everybody's budget that's got fuel in it, are we still, are we okay on the fuel stuff now, Jim, with this Phoenix system, or is it still?
Good question. We actually have somebody coming to actually show us how to operate and upgrade the Phoenix system. I think what we're recognizing is compared to the budget number, compared to what we're using for fuel and the actual expense for fuel, we're doing a good job in not overexpending that line at all.
In the aggregate.
Yeah, total.
Thank you.
So what I see is the chief corrected line 635 to the correct number based on the calculation below. Rebecca.
Just want you to know I'm listening to you.
Very good. That's delightful. Thank you.
Anything else on the 600 series? 700 series? An 800 series?
And no guesstimate on COVID-related expenses for 2021?
No, there's no idea what colors or material required. And even looking back on last year, we don't know if it, for example, PPE, we didn't have much of any, and we bought a lot. Now we have a really pretty good stockpile. So it would still be dependent on the activity, but we're ahead of the game in that particular area. So there's a lot we don't know, like everyone else.
Okay, we'll move on to the capital outlay. So we have, first one what I'm looking at here is for the cardiac monitor defibrillator. You want to touch base with us on this one, Chief? And
Yes, I sent out a memo that went between me and John McDonald at Paul's suggestion. I wrote an email to John to see if there was any kind of grant money that was available. My own research showed me that there is a program available for the kind of AEDs that you would see at the schools and public buildings. There are AEDs that you can get for a reduced rate through the state. It's like a grant, but it's just reduced cost AEDs. Had the program in place for years. What we're talking about is a cardiac monitor, which is a diagnostic tool that we carry. It's the same cardiac monitor you would see on the ambulance or in an emergency department. And it's loaded with capability for the diagnostics. It helps to coach providers who are doing CPR. It helps to analyze the quality of CPR that's being done. Has the ability to transmit EKGs to the hospital so that they can have them there. It takes blood pressures, pulse ox, various other things. And obviously it does 12 lead EKGs, which is very important to people who are having a heart attack. And the earlier that we detect a heart attack, the earlier transport decisions can be made to get somebody to a higher level of care facility. We can't adequately treat that locally. The patients have to go to a facility which has a cath lab. So that's an important tool for that, but it is all a tool that we use for diagnostics for medical calls. And the unit in February will not be supported anymore, and it is the life cycle of the cardiac monitor. Got two quotes here. We had an in-house employee who takes care of our EMS concerns, met with reps, demoed units. These are the two major brands. The third one is not making one currently this year. It's not available this year for what we're for. So we have these quotes. That's it in a nutshell.
And so what's,
I couldn't hear you.
Go ahead, Linda. I'm sorry.
we are going to replace an existing one and then we'll get rid of the old one?
Well, my plan was, it's not, yes. Yeah. If it's not supported, it's just
So
gonna be.
that was gonna go. It's not like we're not gonna now have two. We're still gonna have one, but we're gonna have one new one.
That's correct.
I thought it was interesting on the back there, Chief, you had the, kind of a list of the local departments around us and what they have. And the Zoll seems to be the more popular unit they have there. I'm reading that right.
It's true, yes. Firefighter Evan Turcott's one of our employees, and he put a lot of time in research. And we spoke to a lot of people. Like I said, he met with vendors. What happens is, for a while, everyone will buy Zoll. Then for a while, everyone will buy, what's being offered. And what basically it's a technology-driven industry. The more types of things that the unit can perform are what make them the more desirable unit. So the more diagnostics, for example, that it can do, or assistance with CPR, that's, Zoll seems to be the one the hospital likes and the other towns are using. We may even be able to, they're interchangeable, you know what I mean, too. So if we're working with the ambulance service, everything will be corresponding.
Okay, that's good. Any other questions or comments? I see there was a lot of information also on the outboard motors and night camera for night vision and stuff like that. But I don't see a capital outlay request. Was this just more for information, or I'm missing something on paperwork here, Chief?
I'll explain. There was the regular form that was submitted initially, and then this thing that I sent was done by Lieutenant Belfour, who was working with the group of firefighters who were a committee that looked at the refurb of the boat and what was needed for the boat. And at our previous meeting, I also told the board, Brad, that this year, for the first time, we have a formal asset management plan that we put together to try and take all of these items that are in the fire department, all of the things that are, items that need normal replacement that aren't covered under capital improvement, and get them on a plan so you could see going out what items were there. And it's a work in progress. We'll develop it more over the course of this year too. The conversation that we had the last meeting was whether we should do this all at one time or whether we should split it up. And was there an option of splitting it up? And in our plan, we talked about doing the motors in 2021 and doing the refurb in 2022. But in my conversations with the town manager, he felt that it would be a good idea to present the whole thing so you could understand the whole extent of it. What I found out since our last selectmen's meeting is that the vendor would not be able to do this prior to summer 2021. We could do the motors, but we would not be able to do they couldn't fit us in until 2022. So the decision for how to split it up, if we are able to do the motors, it's basically been made. So my recommendation would be to do the $35,000 to replace the motors, and I can talk about that if you want detail.
Sure.
We have Evinrude E-Tech 2-stroke. They basically have a life of 7 to 8 years or 1,500 hours with regular maintenance. And there's only a couple of dealers in the area that even work on these motors. They're no longer in business. And, the shop rate for repairing these motors is about $130 an hour. And with them no longer in business, that makes it, it's not as viable as it would be if it was another manufacturer. The trade-in value is between $2,000 and $4,000 for both motors. The current motors would require $2,000 to $3,000 in repair if we keep them. There's fuel pump, fuel line, and electronic, main electronics of the motor all potentially need to be done if we do keep the motors and don't replace them. So it makes sense to replace them now, halfway midlife of the boat. I'm not, an expert in this. We did reach out again to John McDonald, and he gave us some good leads. This put us in, put out a letter to Marine Patrol's Mechanical Division to ask, where they buy their motors, and they're done on a state bid. So we're going to look at that very carefully, and that's basically it. As far as the refurb things, that involves repairs to the hull due to the age of the boat, wear and tear, abuse it takes from being at the docks and the weather. Additional items to repair are safety items, the rub rails, bow rails, engine protector. The electronics, the FLIR, the camera is a night operation navigational tool. And I was asked if this could be done with night goggles. And basically the device recommended is the same one that other departments with boats in the lake are using, and Marine Patrol. It's pretty much the desired device. And it's like our thermal imaging cameras, and it would allow us to have that vision during bad weather and at nighttime, when it's the most dangerous time to be out and during an emergency. That's it in a nutshell. There's a lot more to it. That's why I sent you all the information so you could look at it too. One thing our group said is we're not experts in this. We're firefighters. We're not, this is, I think we provided as much information, as we possibly can on what the possibilities for this refurb are, and we feel it's necessary.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion that we cut the capital outlay for 2021 to just the motors,
Second.
since the boat can't be done until 2022 anyhow.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Linda,
Yes,
Dave Senical,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yeah.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
and Brad Harrell votes yes also. Okay.
As it relates, Mr. Chairman,
I have.
Pardon?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Paul.
thank you. As it relates to the engines, let me make sure I'm clear. Evinrude is no longer a company. They were acquired by Bombardier Recreational Products, so you can still buy an E-Tech. I could go out and buy one right now. I think that the narrative that you have here is good, but one of the things that we kind of look at with other people is the track record of maintenance. And I mean, a real, like a direct question would be, Chief, are you having engine problems now? Are the cylinders leaking? Are you getting notice that these fuel pumps, which you can, again, I'm not a boat expert, you can buy for $400. Are these fuel pumps a real problem? You're going to get asked those questions by the budget committee, and I think you should be prepared to answer those questions. So this, the engines on these things should be no different than the engines in a vehicle that we look for from an asset management point of view. And these comments here are, no disrespect, Chief, but they sound a little subjective.
Any other comments or questions for the chief? Okay, do we have any other things in capital outlay for the chief, or are we pretty much wrapped up here with that?
Would it be okay, Mr. Chairman, if I excuse myself? I've got a fire call that's come in that I would need to respond.
Absolutely, chief. Absolutely. Thank you.
Take care, Chief. Be safe.
Ms. Spinner, does that wrap it up for the fire department stuff we had for tonight on the agenda?
Yeah, I didn't know if you guys wanted to do, if there was anything you wanted to revisit regarding the public safety building at all.
Okay.
We had a revisit. Did we have a revisit on this too?
I don't think we did. I'm just trying to get to that tab right now. That's all.
Yeah, as you're doing that, Dave, my critique on the engines, we just don't want to have the narrative be, it won't pass inspection. We hear, we've heard that one a couple of times, and that one ran out of Schlitz.
So we did have some revisits on the building maintenance line. And that's line 435. And I think the question was regarding the awning, the front entrance, remote lock system, security pad, bay door. I think those were the items that were being questioned.
Yes, those are the ones I have. Circled.
What's the question?
The question you had was the budget as proposed in 2020 was 16,500. The budget coming to you now for 2021 is 23,430 for $6,900, a 42% increase. And if I remember correctly, there was some dialogue about the front entry door remote lock system, where a lot of it has some of this work been done to date or not.
Yes, that was part of it, yes. Because I think some of it sounded like some of it had been done.
That's the picture I had painted.
Is
So we
it still a good
need to have
picture,
that
Jim?
answer.
Are we still asking for money, or is it already been spent?
Right, that's what we're trying to figure out.
This on the public safety building?
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay. Just want to be in the right place.
It's
135?
4:35, yeah.
Okay.
It sounded like a lot of that work had been done.
like a dumpster rental.
Yeah, I believe that the front entry remote
Yeah.
key lock system or whatever, I believe that had been done. Because when they shut down the building, they had to put something in place to be able to open it remotely from dispatch. So I'm not sure, but I believe that work had been done. And then I think the real question becomes the awning, whether or not you want an awning installed on the front of this building or not. I can sit here and tell you that when I first came here, that was one of the items that I really wanted to tackle, was to have that whole ramp, to have an awning over it. But I think he's just looking for an awning over the entry door itself, not the ramp.
Yeah, and I think you can go there and find out why. Because they've chiseled the hell out of that concrete over the winters. I don't know if just an awning would help that. I would think it might. I also noticed there's a new door going into the police department, a steel door. That wasn't there too long ago. I just noticed it today when I went there.
Yeah, that was actually, again, that was an issue that Chief Rondo and Captain Livy brought to me. I believe it was under the 2019 budget. At the end of the year, we had the balance of funds, so we exercised that to get that door replaced for security reasons.
Okay. I just happened to notice it today when I was there.
So who owns this, who owns this line? Is this our maintenance? Who owns the line?
This line is owned by the fire department. The fire chief is currently the manager of the public safety building, and he manages the budget associated with it.
And was he saying that 23,430 is a good number?
The question we're having, Paul, is some of that, I don't know, was the garage door opener replaced?
That's my question is Chief Scansey saying 23,430 is a good number? And if it's not, and if it is a good number, that means the garage door hasn't been replaced, the dumpster hasn't been rented, all that stuff hasn't been done. One last
I kind of have a,
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I can't, I think that keeping some money in here for the overhead door maintenance really makes some sense. Those are heavy, expensive doors. And they are, they need to operate critically going forward. So I think it's important that maintenance continue. But I'm not sure what he's looking to replace. If he's got some equipment that is aging and needs replacement, I'm really not sure.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, is the list of expenses pro forma are needed. They're not completed, period.
With the exception of the front entry remote lock system. I've got to get clarity on that. I thought that was done for
Okay.
$1,000.
Mr. Chairman, what's your pleasure? You want to take $1,000 out or wait?
well, I got one other question I want to ask, going back to this awning in the front entryway there, to Dave Senecal's comment about, the chiseling, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Is it your interpretation, Dave, that is being done, or maybe Jim, because you were there for a while too, is that being done because of frost heaving that concrete pad up to the bottom of the door, or because of ice buildup that they're chopping out of there so the door will open and close?
I think it's a combination. I do know that there is a heaving issue which occurs with that pad on those doors. And I think as a result, the quick fix to that is chiseling to get that ice broken up. That would be my quick assessment.
What I'm getting at is if it's a heaving issue and the concrete's coming up, an awning isn't going to help you there at all, unless,
Right.
well, see what I'm kind of getting at there? But, yeah, Linda, you had your hand up?
Yeah, if you look at the maintenance building, they've only spent 19,000 so far. Oh, wait, they approved, never mind. I'm off on that. They had approved less.
Yeah. It's
I thought
about 3,000
I'd
over.
like on this one to have the chief verify that all of these haven't been done. And if any of them have done or are being planned to be done, that we remove those figures from this number.
Yeah,
I agree with
I think that'd be a good approach.
have been done or have been encumbered.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. No, I think that's right.
Yeah.
There may be some purchase orders out there.
Okay, I will get a hold of him Wednesday, probably, to verify that.
Okay.
Do we have anything else on the revisit list for this?
That was all that I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, do we want to go over to our debt service and interfund transfer?
Sure. So, we've got an uptick this year in debt service. I sent you an email late this afternoon. If everybody recalls, the library is coming on board fully this year, or excuse me, in 2021, as is the Cary Beach bond. First payment for Cary Beach bond will be coming on this year. So as a result, the debt service payment for 2021 will go from 860,263 to 1,062,351.
Driven in large part by the library because the Cary Beach bond is a de minimis amount of money.
It's about 90,000, I believe.
On $1 million
Over 5
bucks, that's a
years.
de minimis amount of money, yeah. Okay.
So the overall increase in that budget is $202,088. With regards to the intercompany transfer, we did some legwork on this. We've still got more legwork to do regarding the formula going forward. But the 2020 budget was for $696,010. The 2021 budget proposal is for $570,727. A reduction of $125,283. So that takes care of debt service on the general fund and intercompany transfers. Do you have any questions on that?
Linda?
Yeah, the formula for the sewer transfers is the interest and principal plus any capital outlay. And so there's no capital outlay
Right.
this year, so this is correct, but that's the formula that we've always used, so this looks good.
And where's the
But
revenue
what's
come
not
from?
thing is the calculation isn't working right on my sheet.
You
On the
broke
sheet.
up. Say that again.
On my sheet that I printed out, the calculation is wrong. You have a minus $696,010. There's something going on. You don't have the calculation coming across correctly.
Line 9, line 10 are like we saw earlier with the other budget.
Yeah, it's the same problem as previous. It's calculating against a different line, so I'll get that corrected for you guys.
So Jim, I may have this incorrect, but the distance between 696 and the 570 is, that's revenue into the town as well. Where's the revenue going?
Pay the principal and interest payment.
Yeah, that's not revenue. That is the funds that the taxpayers raise to make the capital payments on the bonds associated with the sewer department.
I'm asking a
There's no
rate
revenue.
question. I'm asking a rate question. I'm asking an income statement and rate question.
That's not part of the rate. This is
Huh?
the sewer fund
Oh.
rate is based on its operating expenses. Its capital outlay and capital projects are on the tax rate. So they're two different.
So our rates for sewer and water are not calculated based upon the costs of the
You can't
No.
put sewer and water together. You gotta do water, it covers everything. Sewer does not cover capital projects or capital outlay.
It's
And
paid for
that's
by
based on a vote of the
general
town.
fund.
Okay?
Paid for by the taxpayers.
Yeah, general fund, yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that for me, Linda.
Thank you for clarifying for me too. Just wondering,
Yeah, just wondering.
just wondering.
Any other questions on the debt service interfund transfers? Okay, next one that's on our agenda is the administrative allocation.
So I've got more work to do on that. I will have that number for you on Wednesday evening. My plan is to, that orange sheet that you got early on, you'll get an updated version of that with the administrative allocations calculated in for the enterprise funds. With that stated, Wednesday afternoon as well, we're supposed to know our healthcare increases. So I'm hoping Wednesday night for the Board of Selectmen, once I get that number, we're going to have a fairly concrete number on the budget relative to healthcare costs and what the actual increase is. Right now, they've asked us to project an 8.1% increase. We're hoping that we come in significantly lower than that.
Paul,
So Jim, on the administrative allocation, we're not changing the weight, we're just changing the rate. Is that right?
Yeah, so I've got the formula all figured out. There's just one weird part of it that I'm trying to get figured out, and that's the technology portion of it. And I'm not really sure what numbers were pulled together to put that part of the formula together. So,
Thank you.
Linda?
I would like at some point a new printout of where each of the budgets are and what the bottom line increase. You gave us one when we started. And before we hand this over to the budget committee, I'd like to know what it looks like with health insurance being in that. Will make a
yep,
difference.
my hopes are that I will have this finished for Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah.
And you know, what I'll probably do is I'll email it to you, but when we get to that part of the Board of Selectmen's meeting, I will probably do a share screen so we can all look at it and go down through it line by line, essentially, and look at the bottom numbers.
So subject to any adjustments to the 100 series line, we should generally know Wednesday night the lower right-hand corner number.
Yeah, and I will have a recommendation for you for wage adjustment on the 100 series.
Well, don't we need to go into non-public on the November 4th and decide what we're going to do about it? Because usually we do that, even sometimes we do it before the union contract settles because we can't wait any longer. And that number really should be in here. We should know what that impact that is.
Okay, so we'll go non-public Wednesday night. The collective bargaining agreement numbers, those will be set. After Wednesday, I'll reach back out to the union. Myself, Dave Senecal, Attorney Broth will meet with them to try and finalize negotiations for the warrant article for those 33 positions.
So I'm assuming that we're going forward, what will come out on November 4th as the budget will be the Public Works Department as is and the sewer and water as is, without any changes.
Yeah, what I'll probably actually do, Linda, is depending on time, I'll try to build it both ways and get it to you both ways.
Okay, good.
So when we do, Jim, when we do the budget, we're gonna, and I asked this before, and it's really up to my colleagues as to whether we want to do it. We had 53 weeks last week, so we're gonna do a % increase on on a 53-week year, or are we gonna do a percentage increase on something different?
I believe it's a non-public issue, but I believe it's always been done on an hourly rate.
No, I was talking about the whole budget in the aggregate. But
You're
yeah,
trying
you're
to
probably,
You tried to factor out the extra week of last year and then compare.
I don't know if that's, I don't know if it's relevant, but it could be. We could say it's, I'm making this up. It's X percent, look, I'm gonna give you a whole number. It's 2% over last year. But if you pulled out those 100 and 200 series, it could be 4%. I don't know. I don't know whether the board wants to have that normalized or normalization effort, whether it's a waste of time or not. It's up to you guys.
I think generally
But
what
we-
we do
we
is
don't-
we take the 100 series, we base it on 52 weeks.
Maybe the thing to
100
do
and
is to take,
200.
maybe the thing to do is to take out, just for an assessment, take out the anything that was affected by the 53rd week, which really was compensation. And then see if we
Compensation.
could- and then see if we could run the rest of it on a percentage growth year over year. I don't know.
But we don't do that like when oil changes.
No.
Right.
You don't want to
Could be
do
on
it.
I mean,
100,
there's-
200.
You don't want to do it. You don't have to do it.
You gonna pout now?
He's just checking.
Yes.
Just checking. Writing a note to myself, pout.
Just checking, just
Yeah.
checking.
Anything else on the administrative allocation?
And what's this getting us stuff tomorrow? We're gonna be electing a president. We're not gonna be doing anything but counting votes.
Oh, are you showing up tomorrow with us?
I think I might. Yes, I understand there's gonna be cookies.
Okay.
I'm coming. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
shocked. Just checking.
Cookies, going to be a lot of absentee ballots to count. So to-
Yep.
Yeah, I
The
went
login.
on Saturday and got to open a lot of them. So yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Okay. Like we have everything talked about for administrative allocation. So next on the agenda is N68 Hours of Hunger Revisit. I see we have a document here. Kind of showing some of the financials of the organization. Was this what we were looking for, or?
Yes.
It was.
Yeah, I
That's
believe
what I
that that's the document that was listed as outstanding.
Rude.
So I'll add that into our information packet for them. Okay. Do we have anything else? We had revisit list down here next on the agenda. Was there anything else on the revisit list we needed to hit on tonight?
I think my list, I think that's it.
So the only thing really that's open now in a big way that has a substantial impact is this conversation about public works, water. Because that's
Mhm.
a biggie.
Yep.
Not on the
Yeah.
capital side, but on the operating side.
Okay. So anything else on our budget review hearing for listings for tonight? That pretty much wraps us up. Other than what we just talked about
But I
with
think
the
it is.
public works.
I think the chief did a nice
Okay,
job.
next,
I think so too.
next on our agenda is public input. Do we have anybody out there that wants to ask us or talk to us about anything? Seeing none.
You want a motion to
What's
adjourn?
out? I would entertain that.
It's just checking.
Just check it if we have a second now.
I'll second.
Okay, we got 1, 2, 3 seconds out there.
Just
Okay,
checking.
we'll do Roll call vote, Linda,
Yes,
Dave Senical,
Yes,
Dave Bowers,
Yeah.
Paul,
Yes.
and Brad Herron votes yes also. Thank you, everyone. We'll see most of you tomorrow and again on Wednesday.
yes.
Thanks,
Another-
everyone.
Have a good
Yep.
another week, yeah.